Right here back on campus at White Plains High School with Coach Smith. And Coach, I was able to get out to the game last Friday night. I caught the second half, which was the half I wanted to see, because I knew in my heart of hearts I thought that was going to be a four-quarter game, and it was. It was a fantastic crowd on both sides. The gate was great. The game was great. It just didn't turn out how you wanted at the end, but, man, your team seemed to have made strides. Coach, talk about last week's game and very close loss to an undefeated Hokes Bluff.
Yeah, the atmosphere was great. Can't say enough about, both communities really. White Plains showed up and stands were full. Hokes Bluff side was full. It's just a great atmosphere for Friday night football. And, Hokes Bluff came in undefeated and, really good football team. And, I was really proud of our guys, how we competed and gave ourselves a chance there in the second half to get a win. Hokes Bluff made more plays than we did down the stretch, and hats off to them for making those plays. But I thought our guys competed, showed some grit. I thought we played well in a lot of different phases, and so we want that win. We got to learn how to take that next step and get that win when we're close. But to win those games in the end, you got to consistently be at the end, and that's what we try to tell our guys. We got to be there in the end to have a chance to win one of those games. And so eventually we'll turn that corner and start winning those games. And when we do, everything, the confidence level and everything goes up. But just really proud of the way we competed. Hate we didn't get the win, but I think we took a step forward in a lot of ways.
Coach, when I was in the locker room with Coach Rob before we filmed his show last week, he and I started talking, and the first thing Coach Rob told me, he said, "Bo, that score in the Alexandria game didn't indicate how good a football team this is. This is a dangerous team." Coach Rob's like, he sees things like that, and he said, this team's really going to give us a run right here. And he said, I wish I could get my guys to understand that. As a coach, you know how it is. I mean, people go around the state and they'll see scores. They say, this team or that. This team made some strides out there, Coach. I mean, they wasn't backing down from a seasoned, well-oiled machine from Hokes Bluff. But talk about that a little bit, how these guys, I mean, this is in the infancy stages of what you're trying to build here as well.
Well, I think, the biggest thing is this gauntlet that we're in right now. We had Alexandria, who's, top 10. We had, Hokes Bluff this week, who's right there teetering at the top 10. And then we have Cherokee County this week. I mean, that's three of the teams in our region that, could possibly win the region and top 10 statewide. And so, we're doing it against top level competition and giving ourselves a chance to win those games. And, the Alexandria game got away from us the second half, with the onside kicks and, us not being able to get off the field defensively and get our offense out there. But I was really proud of the way we played, especially the first half. And then that carried over to this week. And, once again, the kids gave great effort and, showed a lot of grit with Hokes Bluff and gave ourselves a chance to win. And then, this week we got Cherokee County and, until somebody proves different, I mean, they've been the king of the North for several years here, and it'd be another challenge for us. But, I think through that is growth and growing and learning how to compete against top level competition. And, we tell our guys all the time, most of these schools aren't going anywhere. This is that 4A Region 6. It's going to be 4A Region 6 from here on probably. It's been that way for years. And so, we've got to learn to beat some of those teams if we're going to get in the playoffs and do some of the things that we want to do. And I think the past couple weeks, I think it's at least shown our kids that we belong on the field with those teams and can go toe-to-toe with them. And I think eventually, we'll learn to win those games at the end and do that against top-level competition.
These three teams in a row, they all like to do the same thing. They all like to ground and pound, play good defense, and all are sound fundamentally teams in the kicking game. But talk about the similarity to these three teams and how, formationally they may be a little different, but mindset and the way they approach the game is very similar.
Yeah, all three, very physical, You know, they're good up front on both sides of the ball. They got playmakers at some different places, and you know, very similar from that standpoint. Even though the offensive sets may be different, the mindset's the same. And so, you know, the physicality of the game up front, you know, on the line of scrimmage, who can win the line of scrimmage, who can, you know, control that, is usually going to win the football game. And so, you know, that's one thing where, you know, going into this week, we've seen that physicality the past 2 weeks. And we've been a part of that. So our kids, I think, are hopefully learning how to play at that level of physicality that we got to play at in this region. And then not just those 3 teams. You know, we've talked about these 3 teams in this gauntlet, but, you know, Asheville beat Aniana Friday night. You know, I think everybody in our region is better. And I think, you know, there's really good coaches. There's really good, you know, the teams are going to be prepared. They're going to be coached well. They're going to be disciplined. And so, you know, each and every week, you gotta be ready to play. And, you know, that's what we try to stress to our guys is this is a marathon, not a sprint. We got to continue to take steps in every facet of the program in order to get to where we're in the conversation at the end of the year for a playoff spot.
It's nip and tuck. It's like the gap from top to bottom is very jumbled up there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it reminds me of the 3A region in this area here. That's just, you know, every team's really good. But in your case, I mean, you just said it. I mean, Aniana's kind of like world beaters coming out of the gate, but then Asheville beats them. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And a very hard fought game.
I think that gap,
crazy.
I think that gap from the top level teams to the lower level teams in the region, I think that's closing a little bit.
100%.
I think, you know, there's a lot of good football teams, and that's what you're going to get in this area of the state. You know, you got a lot of great coaches, you got a lot of great communities that love their sports and their schools, and, you know, the support. And so, you know, week in, week out, you got to be ready to play. And, you know, it comes down to, you know, depth. You get on into the season, you talk about depth, you talk about, you know, injuries, things like that, key injuries. But you just gotta, like I said, it's a marathon, and you gotta show up each and every Friday night in this region, or you're gonna get beat. And so what we gotta do is figure out how to be consistent with the way that we play. You know, you look at Hoax Bluff, you look at Alexandria, you look at Cherokee County. For years, they're just consistent with the way that they play. And that's what we've got to get to, is to where, you know, we are consistent each and every week, and just try to take those little steps, you know, that we need to take with preparation and practice and things like that, you know, to be in the conversation with those teams.
The last 4 state representatives from the North are here, right?
I believe so.
See, Aniana would when they had Fluff was a sophomore, and then the last 3 Cherokee County. That's crazy.
Well, and you look at the history of these teams, you know, most of these, every team, I think, except for White Plains and maybe Asheville, have won state championships, or at least played for them.
That's correct.
So there's a rich.
Yeah, Rush had them at the semis.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Asheville.
So it's a rich tradition of winning. All these teams have won before, and so it's in their DNA to be successful and to win at a high level. You know, some of those Aniana teams that won those state championships and finished second, I think, one year, you know, they were really good. And so, you know, it's schools and communities that's used to winning. And, you know, that's what we're trying to establish here, is being that one of those schools that, you know, consistently competes for the opportunity to get in the playoffs, because it's if you're not in the playoffs, you don't have a chance to win it. You know, that's all you can ask is a chance. And so you got to get in that playoff, one of those playoff spots. But this region is very tough, very competitive, and you know, we've just got to continue to do the things that allows us to get to that level that they're at right now.
A couple more questions, Coach, and we'll get you out of here. Cherokee County specifically, diving into them. Some of the names have changed on the back of the jerseys, but when you look at them, they're still run first. They still take care of the football, and they play stingy defense. What have you seen from them? They kind of stumbled a little bit out of the gate there at a while, but then kind of when they caught footing, so to speak, they.
Well, I think, you know, you go back to consistency, the way that they play the game, you know, that hasn't changed. Like you said, some different personnel or whatever, but they're confident. You know, they're used to winning. You can see that by the way they play. They're physical, big physical team. They've got some good skill guys. They play great defense. Just what you expect. It goes back to the consistency of these teams and the way that they play from year in to year out. It doesn't change. Even though the people have changed, they still play the same way, same energy and things like that. And so, they're very good team. And like I said before, until somebody proves them different, they're the team to beat in the North. And until somebody does that, I think they're the team to beat.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And it's fun to see a lot of you guys coming up like you here at White Plains now. There's a lot of guys chasing them, so to speak, in the region. But like you said, I do believe all in all that gap's closed. Coach, last question is, I always like to throw it back to you just for final thoughts.
Yeah, we just got to continue to get better. We got to continue to learn how to compete at a high level. And this region and this game Friday against Cherokee County gives us another opportunity to go out and prove that we belong and we can play with some of the top teams in the state of Alabama. Now to do that, we've got to continue to get better. We got to have a great week of practice. We got to be mentally prepared. All those things as we move forward. But really proud of our community, the excitement level, the kids believing and buying in, and just the effort that they've been giving us. But once again, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and we got to continue to get better in each and every way.
Coach, appreciate you sitting in with us as always. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.